So in October 2023, I changed gears in my life and decided to buy 20 acres of forest property in northern Michigan. Being that it was October on the 45th parallel, winter didn't take long to set in. In proper Midwest fashion, it was cold, wet, and dreary. By the time the bitter cold days were finally behind us, I needed to get out of the house and do something productive outside, or I was gonna go crazy. Now, I have always wanted to make my own maple syrup. It's one of the things I was most excited to try this winter. I was recently unemployed, so it's not like I was about to drop $12 on a quart of maple syrup when I have all these trees around me just waiting to be put to work. So my brother Mark and I drove up to the property to see what we could do. I mean, how hard can it really be?
All right, man. What do we do first?
I don't think we get this far.
Right? I thought we'd die by now.
Yeah. Okay, what we gotta do. We gotta find a maple tree. Just look at the ends of the leaves. They have opposite branching and paired buds. Finding a maple proved to be more difficult than we thought it would. So it turns out, trees are pretty hard to identify when the leaves are off. And looking at the ground near the trees wasn't really helpful either, because the maple leaves were mixed in with birch, aspen, oak, and everything else. But a couple minutes later, after a lot of deliberation, we managed to find our first victim.
This is a maple. Has to be. I think it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Looks like it.
I can see flower residue, and it's flower that I saw from the maple bush.
Okay.
On the tree from the bush.
Nice, man. We got one.
Yep.
Not a very powerful drill.
No, it doesn't look. It looks like it's a small one.
It's burning. Well,
No,
we could try.
It doesn't look like it's big enough.
We could maybe like. Oh wait, we had the block. Yeah, this wasn't gonna work. We did this on a whim, so we didn't have the right drill bits, and the only buckets we had were these used plastic containers I got off Marketplace for like 25 cents each. So we went home feeling pretty stupid, but we came up the next week with some real buckets, the right drill bits, and some tubing so that we could keep the sap safe from the elements. This one's really going. Nice, dude. See that? Yeah.
Got that.
Dude, look at that.
Yeah. Nice.
That is dripping.
There you go.
Tastes mapley too. It's actually a fucking poison hemlock tree. We just killed it.
Once we got that first tree done, we had it figured out. The taps were 5/16, so we would drill the right size hole about 2 inches into the tree, making sure to drill at a slight upward angle so that the sap could flow down. The other would cut tubing and drill a hole in the bucket lid, and then we would just hammer the tap in. We managed to get 6 taps in, we secured them with random logs and duct tape, and left praying that the maple syrup gods were smiling upon us. We were pretty excited to get up there next week and see what we had, but before we could do that, we needed a place to boil the sap down. Now, most sugar makers have these fancy boilers, evaporators, and well-seasoned wood to add as fuel, but we had none of those luxuries. We were working with free bricks that I got off Marketplace, a $10 stock pot that I got from Walmart, and slightly damp wood that we had to collect from the forest as we went. So this is probably the least efficient boiling setup that you'll find on YouTube, but for 2 guys with no experience and really nothing better to do, we had a ball just learning as we went. Wow, first bucket. I mean, we have to have at least like 2 gallons of sap in there. And that was just from 2 taps. Looks like they've kind of run dry now, but yeah, from just a week, that's awesome. Should we do like just a whole bucket? I mean, because that's...
You see it? The viscosity of it? All right, third final one, baby. Oh, it's dripping out of the top.
Oh, I should have got the other bucket to pour some in. Oh man, that's blue. We really weren't sure if we were doing any of this right, but eventually the viscosity of the sap started to change into dark amber syrup. Look, it's nice and golden too. I feel like the rain is replenishing all the water that's evaporating. The only problem we would run into is that sometimes the boil would get too rapid and spill over into the fire, so it was tricky to get the right temperature balance, but we eventually figured it out, and it was pretty smooth sailing from there. We took our bounty home with us, and I finished the rest of the sap on the stove at home, just because it was easier in a temperature-controlled environment. I filtered all of the ash out of the syrup, but it was too late. The smoky flavor was already infused into it, but this didn't really make it taste bad, just more homemade, I guess. Next year, I'm going to make sure that the wood I use is seasoned and doesn't come into contact with the sap. And that said, I'm really excited to do this again next year. I'm going to be converting a barrel into an evaporator, and I hope to have around 100 taps or so. I think even a cheap evaporator will be 1,000 times better than our makeshift stockpot setup, because waiting for the batches to heat up and cook down really just takes forever. So if you know anybody or people or companies in Michigan who buy maple syrup, let me know, because I'll probably have a lot left over.